Good morning, all of you. We'll begin the session today. Okay, so let me introduce you to the speaker for today's session, Mr. Amir Sheikh and Rehan Sheikh. Okay, so I'll start with Mr. Amir Sheikh. Amir is a highly accomplished architect with 6 years of experience in the master's planning, infrastructure, landscape, and urban development across India, Abu Dhabi, Dubai, and Qatar. And Amir is currently a digital information manager, and he has demonstrated some leadership in a very advanced multidisciplinary team in which he has worked on projects like Lusail City in Qatar, Dam- Damak Bay Towers in Dubai, right? So I welcome you, Amir, for the session today.
Hi Adnan. Hi everyone. Hope we are all not ruining your Saturdays or your weekends. But this will be a small session of where we'll be discussing a lot of BIM related and landscape related issues, and maybe resolve a few from all of y'all when y'all ask questions about it.
Yeah.
So without further ado, I think we should just get into that, right, Adnan?
Yeah, absolutely. I would like to introduce Rehan as well, along with Mr. Amir. So Rehan was a long time ago was one of the student of iWorkstation. He's currently having a 3 years experience in BIM, and he has worked on prestigious projects not only just from the Middle East region but also in India as well. And Rehan has handled various projects with a multidiscipline, including architecture, structure, MEP. So I welcome Rehan as well for the session today. We can begin the session with Mr. Amir. Would you like to just mention a little bit about where do you come from, what is your background, right, and what makes you motivated to choose this field, BIM, or especially the landscape architecture field?
So where do I come from? I'll answer that question first.
Sure.
So I am really from Mumbai, born and brought up always, and studied architecture there. And as architects, we all know that there's softwares involved in everything that we do, right? So based on that, you just need to know a lot of softwares. And while in architecture, there was not a very big exposure to software when I was in university. But then after going inside the field or coming out in the field, you realize that there is a lot of things that you need to learn with the technicalities on site, and then arranging the softwares, understanding the softwares. There's a lot of things that is involved. And when you start going out of India and start working with other consultants worldwide, then you understand there's a lot more than what you were learning back home in India.
Yeah.
So then it just got me interested into thinking, how can I move forward in this? And with that, then you come into architecture. You take BIM, for example, which has already progressed a lot. But with that, as soon as I joined the landscape field, there were much more complexities in the landscape field than it was in the architecture field, because BIM has not developed as much as it has developed over the last 15 years in architecture.
True.
So there are a lot of things that still needs to be developed in BIM. And that's how it was just a spark. You just need to understand where the technology is leading you, and you just need to follow that. That's where the spark came from.
That's really great. I understand the way you come from Mumbai region and then you moved out of the country to explore the specialized domains. I think like very few people are exploring this particular domain as of now in the landscape architecture field. Like, what do you think the future of this landscape architecture in the context of how the BIM is growing everywhere? Like, what do you think would be the future of this field?
I feel we're just getting started. It's a very infant field. It's been there for very long, but it wasn't involved. A lot of people in architecture and a lot of people in other fields, even engineers, did not look at landscape architects as a very separate discipline.
Right.
but now they are looking at it like that. Now they know that this takes this much time, and it does take a lot of time to understand the topography, to understand the space, and to design landscape according to that space, according to that region, which is more important than anything else, right?
True.
So I think we're just getting started with landscape now, in BIM especially. Yeah.
Since you are already in Qatar, like you could mention about like the Middle Eastern region, why the focus is in this particular region and why not in the other parts of the country? Is it taking time to adapt to this new domain, or how is it happening in the industry right now?
See, in the Gulf, it was
Huh.
already there because architecture has already been using BIM for a very long time, and there is now is the Gulf is primarily a desert. All of these Gulf regions are deserts, right?
True.
So you can build only cities or architecture buildings with landscape in it. Otherwise, people are not going to live in them. If there's no green, if there's no spaces where they can actually come out, and you need to make it a habitable space, right? So this becomes the center of landscape because of that. Other places you have diversity, you have natural ecosystems, and you just build a building around it.
True.
You don't need to actually treat in the same manner as you treat the Gulf regions. So there's a lot of demand in Gulf because of that, for landscape architecture specifically, and that's how it boomed in all of these regions. And now that they're trying to, there's one more basic reason that the oil reserves are not going to be there forever.
True.
It's in regions like Qatar, it'll be only lasting for another 30-35 years. And Dubai is already distinct in understanding that this is going to not last forever.
Yeah.
Oil and gas reserves, that is. And they've started building the city over the past 10-15 years. And that's how it boomed. Now Saudi realized it. KSA realized it, and they've started doing the same. Now Qatar will realize it sooner or later, and they will start the same thing. That's how they want to build up tourism. They want to get more people inside the country, more habitable spaces, not just deserts and not just their communities living there.
Right.
So that's how landscape architecture will also boom here.
Like when did you came to Qatar? Like since how long you are working over there?
I've been in Qatar for 3 years now, and
Okay.
before that I was still working with the same firm, but from India as a distant worker.
So since 3 years ago you came to Qatar, so I'm sure you might have seen the FIFA celebrations and everything was going on
I
over
did.
there. How was
I
it?
did. I definitely did. I watched the Spain versus Portugal, actually Spain versus Mexico match that was 7-0,
Okay.
and I was there to witness while Ronaldo was playing. It was crazy.
That's
And then,
amazing.
of course, the finals and the semi-final matches with Messi. Man, oh man, everyone should have been there to notice that. Oh my
It
God.
was in the Lusail Stadium, if I remember. The final was.
It was in the Lusail. Final was in the Lusail Stadium.
And
Yes.
all the stadiums I have heard, which was newly constructed in Qatar, all the stadiums were done using BIM as well.
It was. It was.
Okay.
Otherwise, it's not possible because from the get-go, the PMCMs, project managers, I should stop using jargons of industry. Yeah. So the PMCMs
Okay.
from the get-go start using the project management tools, which, okay, so there is a basic misconception about BIM that it is only Revit or it is only modeling software or documentation software. BIM
Yeah.
is a method or a process that takes on the project from the very get-go, from your bidding stages, from your project management bidding stages to your execution stages to the site or the handover stages of the same project management teams. That includes everything from project management to execute till the contractor. So BIM includes all of that.
Yeah.
So everything included BIM, yes.
Yeah, so when we just talk about one particular area, like BIM has a lot of different use cases I have seen in the industry. BIM has use case in CAD to BIM kind of applications. It has scan to BIM, It has multiple dimensions which people are now little by little exploring these domains. Like if we talk about the landscape architecture domain, like can you help the people in the session also understand what is the workflow or what is the process, how the work is being done in this particular domain?
Now, landscape architecture,
Yeah.
let's understand landscape architecture first. How
Yeah.
is it different from architecture? Architecture, you resolve a building and then you replicate a lot of things in that, right? Irrespective whether you're designing like a very fancy or a very detailed building, you will replicate a lot of things. You will standardize a lot of things. I'm just not talking about the facades or the panels. I'm also talking about the floor plans, the basements, all of those things. Then the structural columns, from slabs, from your strategies in the building, everything. You will replicate a lot of things. You will create a lot of standards. You will do a lot of standardization, cost saving standardization in the project. But in landscape, unless and until you're doing streetscapes, then you will do a lot of customization, which is unique to the project. And then even in the project, there will be a lot of things that will be unique to that space itself. If you're designing, let's say, a park, which is a very small example of the scale of projects that happen in Gulf.
Okay.
A space of one particular park will have a different aesthetic and design as compared to another park or design in another area of that same neighborhood, right? So standardization, and then the cost goes up with landscape architecture. So landscape architecture has unique elements, unique parameters, unique designs, and in terms of that, it becomes complex to handle projects in landscape. And then you add the layer of topography. If your topography is in, let's say for example, Saudi has complex topography with terraneous mountains, right? And they have wadis. Wadis mean we have a term in India called wadi.
Okay.
And similarly, there is a term in Arabic called wadi.
Okay.
It's the same thing. Both are valleys.
Yeah.
And there are deep valleys and there are trenches, and you have to resolve a lot of levels. And with resolving a lot of levels, let's say you design a mound in this area, but due to a different type of level in a different area, that same mound will differ.
Okay.
It has to go up or come down. So standardization means very little in landscape. It's all unique, and that's actually the USP of landscape, but it makes it more complex for a BIM architect or a BIM designer to resolve it in terms of design, in terms of modeling, and then in terms of documentation.
Right.
That's how landscape has developed.
Do we have standards as well at the moment for the landscape architecture?
We do. We have BIM processes that released in 2019 for the first time, and then they released the LODs for landscape architecture.
Okay.
And those differ. And for the past, let's say 12 to 13 years, we were just following the architecture LODs. LODs mean level of detailing or level of documentation.
Yeah.
And that goes from 200, 250, 300, 350, 400, and 500.
Right.
So we were just following architecture's level of detailing, level of documentation. But landscape, as I said, is very different. So we needed one for landscape architecture in BIM specifically. So then they released something in 2019, and then we follow ISO 19650, which is standard for all architecture-based or civil engineers or everything in the BIM field, right? We follow that, and then in conjunction with landscape standards, a lot of industry landscape standards, and then a lot of firm-based or organization industry standards, then we come up with projects or come up with models and documentation as per that.
Okay, I understand. But when you talk about this standardization, the documentation, how often do you need to coordinate with the architects, structural engineers, or MEP engineers from the industry? Like, do you need to coordinate with all the different stakeholders, or like specific people in the industry you have to deal with?
So, landscape is a field that you have to stay in from the get go of the project.
Okay.
Because as soon as there is a survey on a site and the client decides that I want to build something in this site,
Mm-hmm.
the first thing that they're going to do is do surveys of that site. And the landscape architects, according to me, should be involved in from that very stage of the project if they have to design. So, from taking on the surveyors from the beginning of the project to actually talking to contractors on site while the project is getting executed.
Okay.
Landscape architects are involved in every phase of that. And with every discipline, every client that keeps coming in and going out, irrespective whether it's a lighting consultant, an MEP consultant, or just a hydrology consultant, you need to be involved with every consultant on the project, with every discipline, and you need to have coordination with every one of them on the project.
So I think each and every minute details are needed to be done when you talk about landscape architecture, but that comes from the client itself when they have a requirement about it. Let's consider, like, let's say there's a building, and around the building there are few different tiles. Okay, so what kind of detail you need to input in this particular element? Can you give an example?
Now, a lot of people are well versed with interior design, right?
Uh-huh.
And let's say we're designing a pavement strategy for a space for landscape, outdoor pavement strategy.
Okay.
For let's say a streetscape project, which is over acres or which is over kilometers, right?
Hmm.
And if you sparingly use your materials, then you save a lot of cost,
Yeah.
right? So how do you do that? You do that by doing a tiling layout like you do it in interior design.
Uh-huh.
You save all the cutting tiles and then you reuse the tile. Let's say, for example, you get one tile and then you cut it into 4 pieces and use all those 4 pieces. Instead of cutting one in the center, if it's customizable, let's say it's a triangle in between, you just don't cut one triangle from that tile. You cut 2 triangles and then you place it over side like that, and that's how you save
Okay.
cost, because there's a lot of customization. So you have to come up with a strategy to save cost, do customization, and
Uh-huh.
tell the client that you are able to achieve your design as well. So it's crazy, but you have to actually do that.
In such a minute detail you have to go, because usually when someone model a simple building in terms of BIM, they just model a let's say a floor, and they try to get out the quantity of the number of tiles and the cost of tiles, that's it. But here what you are doing is you are taking one particular tile and you are even calculating the pieces which is going to be involved in that one single tile, and you are trying to minimize the
Exactly.
cost and trying to optimize it.
Yes. So like I mentioned, it's
Uh-huh.
architecture has floor plates, and how much are you going to waste in a floor plate as compared to, let's say you have a site of a kilometer
Okay.
for landscape design? If you compare that to landscape, if you just use a tile and just throw it out
Yeah.
without actually coming up with a strategy or customization strategy that we call it, a specification, then it just goes beyond the budget and the client will tell you, okay, bye bye, please don't get involved in my
True.
project anymore. But yeah, we never let that happen. So it's very important to do that, yes.
Even a small piece of tile can impact a lot of cost budget in the
It will,
project.
yeah, oh, believe me, yes, it does. And the client catches you for that. Yes.
Right, right. So if we talk about the opportunities, Amir, like what do you think are the opportunities for the people coming from the architectural background, from the civil background, or from mechanical or from any other engineering domains? Who who have the opportunities to come into this particular domain? Can you tell a bit about it?
So, like I said, I was there are a lot of disciplines that you need to speak to when you're in landscape architecture,
Yeah.
and specifically BIM and landscape architecture, right? So let's say a civil engineer is getting involved in a project and he wants to open his field and open his world to architecture and join architecture.
Huh.
He can actually do that based on his Revit expertise, right? If he enhances his Revit expertise to a level that we develop complex models at, including learning topography, learning massing in the project, learning a lot of families,
Yeah.
which is very important, and then customization of those families and adaptive families that comes later. But you need to at least know these basics, how to develop complex topographies, complex massing on projects, right? Develop that skill in Revit, and then you can actually apply to all of these BIM firms and BIM related landscape architecture firm if you really want to get into landscape.
Okay.
That will be a plus. The second point is every engineer has a specific talent or specific knowledge about their field that they can communicate while getting inside the field or while giving interviews to people that, let's say for example, a civil engineer is here. He will be able to understand what goes on a site, like you were mentioning about the tiles, right?
Yeah.
A civil engineer will be able to communicate with another civil engineer from some other discipline to make them understand that this is what I want as landscape architect, or this is what my designer from my team wants on my project. They will be able to communicate that later.
I think
so. Always show your strengths.
Yeah, I think Rehan can highlight a much better perspective in this particular
Yes,
discussion, right?
yes.
Because since he is a civil engineer, like Rehan, what do you think? Like, how was your how was your vision when you enter into this field? Hi, Rehan.
Hi. Yeah. First of all, it was a bit challenging part for me, like to enter inside the landscape architectural thing.
Yeah.
Previously, I was associated with the MEP and the structural stuff,
Yeah.
but with the landscape architectural stuff. So yeah, I was aware about the detailing works and about the production of drawings, all of these things. So I was into this before as well, but understanding the basic concepts or the parts like how we can achieve the same thing inside the landscape. So it was a challenging part, but yeah, I got the great guidance of my seniors.
Yeah.
So whomever I have worked with, so this made much easier for me to get it into this and to get adapt all of these things in a quick way.
True, true. That's really great to know, Rehan, your perspective about this field. Like, can you tell a bit more about, like, since you already have more than 3 years of experience in this domain and you are currently working on such kind of projects, tell me a bit about your journey, like how you started when you were in India, what type of projects you used to work on, and then little by little you changes your domain and currently which domain you are working on.
Yeah. So at the start, I started with the scan to BIM projects. So basically, we were working on the school, residential, and the hospital projects from scan to BIM. So over there, like it's like you need to model everything as it is that you see inside a 3D scan, and also provide the documentation work as per that BIM model.
Yeah.
Okay. And then I went through the architectural modeling, that is the CAD to BIM process. So over there also I have worked like almost 8 to 9 projects, like and also after that I have worked on MEP projects. MEP projects, that was a bit challenging for me as well, because by that time I was not aware about all of these things like MEP and how to do the modeling and all of these stuff. But yeah, my company members has helped me to learn that thing as well. And by that, I have leaded a lot of MEP projects as well. Okay, so
I see.
that was the thing. And then after I joined an organization, I was working on the landscape architectural projects. So yeah, like since then, I'm into this field. So it's been around like 2 years now. I'm practicing on this.
That's great. Like you have shifted from different domains. Like you were started your career from scan to BIM and then move on to MEP, and then now you're working with architects. So that's a really versatile skills that you have possessed. Would you like to tell or guide something to the people or the participants who wanted to, like upskill themselves and want to be at a place where they can enhance their skills? Like you are in Dubai as of now. How other people can be at your place?
See, as an
Yeah.
engineer perspective, I can say like you can't really do the designing stuff into the landscape. Okay, let's leave that to the
To
architects.
the architects, yeah.
So you can focus more on the detailing part and the production of drawings, all of these things. So this is really important. Like right, like anyone can create the Revit model. Like
Yeah.
any ITI person can also create the Revit model. But when it comes to the documentation work, so this is the backbone of every project, right? Like you create a design, but if you don't know like how to design all of these stuff, so like there is a no use of that thing. So
True.
to make it a presentable, like you need to be really good inside the production work. The production means you need to know everything about the Revit templates, and then the view filters and how to link change the elements from the link model and how to override all of these all the elements. So
Right.
that is the main thing.
What softwares you would recommend to people to learn more about, like in the industry? I mean, there is one software like Revit everyone know, but how to properly learn it? Like there are tons of videos on YouTube and there are so many courses, but what exactly the industry is looking from a candidate? If you are already in this field since pretty long, so you know exactly how you started learning BIM, and now when you are actually doing BIM, what kind of skills the industry is looking for, like how they should move on to this level, which softwares they should focus on.
Yeah. So like since landscape architecture is the field related with the architects, so there is a common software that is AutoCAD.
Yeah.
Okay, so which architects use from their first year of their schooling, right?
Yeah.
So like they work on the AutoCAD. So the basic one is like you need to know the basics of AutoCAD because all the designs and all the drawings like architects will be creating in that. So just the basics, not the advanced. How to control the drawings and how to edit all of these things,
Yeah.
not the advanced ones. Along with that, like Revit is one. So inside Revit, like you need to know everything, like start from the modeling work to the tools that we use for the documentation, for the annotation, all of these things.
Yeah.
Like you need also know about the there are a few software that is used for the parametric modeling, that is a Rhino,
Rhino, yeah.
right? Because inside the Revit, like it's a bit difficult to use, to create the models that are very much complex. So it is possible from the Rhino, and then you can get the Rhino model inside the Revit. So this is also a trending thing right now. So, and apart from this, like there are a few coordination softwares, the Navis work. So this is the industry leader, and along with that we have Revista as well. Like currently, it has been used into the Middle East, and along with this, and there are like a few tools for the documentation work. That is uh, roots, if you are know,
Yeah.
if you know. So that makes your workflow very much easier. Like let's say if you have to print the sheets, if you are having like more than 100 or 200 sheets, so roots can do that for you like quickly instead of printing one sheet
Yeah.
at a time. So
You can use these
makes the job
applications
much more
directly.
easier. Yeah.
Sure,
There are like
sure.
few more plugins that you need to like research based upon the your job requirement. So you can do that thing as well.
Like Rehan, you are a civil engineer and Amir with us as an architect. Like most of the architects, they already used to prepare their own portfolio in their college days. But now I see in the industry, like whether it doesn't matter which background you come from, you need to have your BIM portfolio. I remember. So Rehan,
Yeah.
how much the BIM portfolio helped you to enter into this industry? Can you tell a bit about it? Like, why is it necessary? What is BIM portfolio? What things are needed to be there? I would like to hear from Amir as well on this point. Yeah.
Okay. Yeah. So in portfolio, like let's say if you are applying in for any of the company, right, and you provide your CVs and the big portfolio. So by looking inside the CV, a hiring manager or a recruiter can't think like, have you really worked on this type of projects or not? So to make the
True.
things easier, you can present your BIM portfolio in
Mhm.
which you will be presenting all of the kind of works that you have done in your past experience. So let's say if you are a fresher, right? So and if you are doing a course from any of the institutes, so there you must have worked right, on any of the projects just for the practice. Right? So just add the few images from that stuff. Like let's say if you are doing the documentation work, then add a sheet in which a view is also there, and along with the annotations and all this stuff. So by this way, you can present much more better than your CV.
True, true. I understand. Yes, Amir. You have something to add up?
Yes, I second that. I actually second what Rehan said.
Yeah.
And also, there can be a strategy when you're making a BIM portfolios, right? You can't, let's not put, now that we are experienced in the field, I can tell you that we should not be putting the entire project into, let's say you're working on one BIM project, you shouldn't be just putting the entire project on in your portfolio.
Right.
Now highlight your skills, make sections.
Okay.
If you're good in modeling, show 2 projects that are very complex modeling. If you're good in documentation, then show complex documentation skills with a couple of sheets in the portfolio. And then if you're good in coordination as well, then show Navisworks coordination reports, coordination documents that you've created, Excels that you've created for other disciplines. Then you create a if you are a BIM manager or if you are already in the BIM position, then you create a responsibility matrix.
True.
You need to collate all of these things, but very summarized version of these things, not the entire projects, and then collate it into one small portfolio of 20 to maximum 25 pages, and then give it to wherever you are applying it to.
Okay, understand. So having a section of the skills which you possess, like basically whether it's modeling, whether it's documentation, whether it's detailing, or any rendering or walkthrough you would have created in your project. So different variety of skill set which you have, you need to highlight it in your portfolio with the help of sections. Like you cannot directly put on the entire project, the entire so many 3D views or so many documents. So you have to highlight the proper skill sets which you have. Okay.
Yes.
So I understand. Yeah, that's a very important point, I think. And I would like to ask from Rehan as well. Like Rehan, when you enter into this field, like how, to be very honest with you, when you started, obviously you would have started with a very low salary in India, and then now you are in Dubai as of now, You might have a pretty good package from the company. So I would like to know from you, what is the percentage of increment you had got, or you expect other people can get also? Like, you can tell about the percentage, maybe 10, 30, or in your case 80%.
He's driving a Lamborghini right now.
Oh.
No, I'm kidding.
So I started like from a very low amount. Like if I can say that, yeah, I can say like I started from the 5,500 rupees
Uh-huh.
INR. So that is a very low, like from the start, and like and currently what I'm having, like it's too high. I mean, there is nothing. 1,000, 2,000%.
Yeah. The reason I ask, Rayan, is because not nowadays, a lot of people, they ask about, I'm not getting a good salary in this company, I don't want to join. I have taken education and maybe I have spent lakhs of money in taking education for my masters, for my education. Now I expect at least few lakh in a month, and as a starting, or at least
Yeah.
few thousand. So like, you started from just 5,500, as you mentioned, but still I think there was something in you which motivates you. What was that? Why you accepted such a low salary and still initiated working with a company?
No, see, so basically, I started because like, I was having offers from other companies as well, but
Mm-hmm.
I haven't accepted them because, like, let's say, that was a startup from where I joined.
Okay.
So there, one owner was there, and along with him, only I was there, right? So
Uh-huh.
all the projects that were there, so I was the only person responsible for them. So in that way, like let's say if like within a week we used to complete like almost 2-3 cent to BIM projects. So
Nice.
this has helped me a lot to learn everything much more faster, and to develop myself into this thing.
I think
So
you look at more of the opportunity which you are getting to work
yes,
in a startup company rather than the
yes,
salary which you might get in other companies too.
yes,
Yeah, I
yes,
think
yes,
that's a very positive and plus point, which, I mean, a lot of people
yeah.
have to think about it at the moment.
Yeah, that's
Yeah.
why I have worked on MEP projects as well, structural, architectural, scan
Yeah,
doing. So
all the
that's why
disciplines.
I got a lot of options. Yeah,
That's true. And finally, you are in a specialized domain, and that's, I think you are pretty lucky to get here in this particular domain. Not many people
yeah,
are working in this field right now.
yeah.
Yeah, that's great.
As an engineer, like it's a bit challenging thing to into into this field.
Uh-huh.
But yeah, if you're having like if you develop the good skills, then like no one can stop you to
Indeed,
enter.
indeed. I truly agree with this. Like, if no one can stop, what actions the people should take actually? Like, many of the people right now, they, like, it's a very common thing since I'm an educator, I'm a teacher. Most of my students, before taking any action, they procrastinate a lot. They wanted to do, they have the skills, but they stop taking actions. So, what kind of actions these people who already have the skills, they know that they have the talent, they have worked on different projects, what is the one thing, what is the one step they have to take in order to get a good job and to explore more opportunities, where they should go, Amir?
I feel that's what we all do as architects, as engineers. I feel we think a lot and we do a little lesser than that. That's what I feel.
Yeah.
So it's very, very important to actually do things rather than just thinking about it and
Yeah.
doing it later. Let's say you're studying on something. Let's say you're doing your masters.
Huh.
Just, I know it's hectic, but just get a simply like a part-time job on BIM projects or do a freelance BIM project. It's more about working on a project, a live project, than watching YouTube videos, because where you will learn YouTube videos is you're not practicing anything. You're just watching a video and then just forgetting 90% of the information that is getting through your brain.
True.
It's just filtering out like that.
Yeah.
But while you're working on a project, a live project, you're actually thinking about the task you're doing. Even if it's very small, you're actually thinking about the task. So do more. Just get a small job, get a freelance project, get like a bungalow project, but do it on Revit.
But how they can
Let's
get it?
start that.
Where they have to look? They need to network with some people, or how they can?
You need to definitely network with a lot of people, and the only source, if you have to get into the Gulf industry, only source I feel is LinkedIn.
Okay.
You need to approach lots and lots of people. Just
Mm-hmm.
bug them every day and
Okay.
just find common ground. Let's say, for example, someone is a civil engineer and they're working in a BIM field, like Rehan. So you just need to connect with them and understand what's happening and how did they join and what skills do they have that you need to acquire in order to apply to their firm, or can they give you references, and just do it on LinkedIn. Just find common grounds between you and other people on LinkedIn and then approach them and then bug them.
I think that's the secret how people network around the industry professionals.
Yes, it's more on LinkedIn than anywhere else right now. And then you need to message every single one of them. So you really need to get your
Uh-huh.
chatting skills and communication skills higher, and then just approach a lot of people, because there are a lot of people on LinkedIn, but they're not very active. So you have to keep approaching them every day or every week and understand where they're going, what's their schedule, what's happening with them, and then approach them and then tell them this is your skill. Maybe they can refer you to some places, maybe they
True.
can refer you to some other person who's hiring, and all of those things that needs to happen on LinkedIn. And you
Okay.
need to do that, yes.
So I would like to tell all the participants over here. So if you are finding this particular source of truth very important and very useful for you, try to find Amish Sheikh on LinkedIn and spam him. Okay, so they can bug you as well.
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay, that's a really great point you have added about LinkedIn. Like, I think everyone should know how to use it properly rather than using Instagram or Facebook. They should work
Yes.
on making a proper professional LinkedIn profile. Yeah, so I think that's a great conversation we had today with Amir and Rehan. So we'll open the discussion for Q&A. So anyone have any questions related to the session today, they can freely raise their hand and ask. Anyone? Yeah, you can ask Rehan, Irfan.
Yeah, good morning, sir.
Good morning.
I want to ask from Amir Sheikh, can you show the sample of landscape on design?
Show the sample of landscape design.
Yeah, or you work on that project, small project I want to see.
Yes, so I would be able to, but this is like a public platform and all the projects that I'm working on are pretty confidential, and we always sign an NDA before showing any of our projects or any of our drawings publicly in public platforms. So there is an opportunity to do that, but I feel that will be a personal thing to do. So let's connect with Adnan maybe, and then have a call if we want to present something to, maybe in later sessions, or maybe a personal call would do better, right, Adnan?
Yeah, that makes sense. I think Irfan, I think some of the confidential details the experts cannot show, but he can help you, guide you, like how you can enter into this field, what skill set you have to polish. Okay, he can help you with the portfolio as well if you would like to share with Amir, and he can help you with the opportunities if there are coming up in Qatar or in the Middle Eastern regions. So these kind of things, I think our speaker today can help you all much better.
Yes,
Yeah.
I agree.
Thank you. Any other questions? Yes, Fazil. Yeah, Fazil, you can ask.
Hi, good morning, Adnan sir.
Good morning.
Yeah, I have question. Data is the main thing in our BIM. So regarding landscape, what data we are like maintaining in landscape model? Like that question I was having.
So I'm assuming by data you mean all the standards and protocol and processes in Revit that we are trying to gather in landscape architecture, right? So yes, okay, great. So we have a lot of standards that we produce, and it depends on the hierarchy of the project. It starts from where the project is, and there are set different standards from the area that we are doing the project in, or the region that we are doing the project in. Then comes the client. They have a different set of standards, and every project has an execution plan, which is called the BIM execution plan. So before the onset of any project, you receive that document, and all the standards and processes and nomenclature of that project will have to be mentioned in that document, and that's how you set all your standards based on the project. Now, talking about industry or organization standards and processes, every organization or every firm for that matter has a set standard, and they have a set of templates, they have a set of settings that they produce drawings in, that they adapt models in. That's how the processes lies in individual organization. So let's say, for example, some firms use Rhino into Revit to get Rhino models into Revit, or some firms directly model in Rhino, and then so these are two different things. Rhino into Revit is a plugin in Revit, and Rhino and Grasshopper are different softwares that they use. So I'm just giving an example of how two different firms will operate. One firm will use the actual Rhino software and Grasshopper and then take the model in, or some people will use Rhino into Revit as a standard if they have those licenses, and then get that model into Revit, and vice versa. So that's how we generate standard and processes. It's all based on standard in client, it's based on region, and it's based on the organization and the type of project really.
That's the integration feature, like we have with different softwares, you have to integrate them to share the information. I think Amir answered your question, Fazil.
Yes. Other than this standard, like real-time data, what we are having, like currently I'm working on metro project. So like as-built data we will incorporate in our model. Like that also we have to incorporate in landscape.
Yes, we do. We always do that because there is geolocation that you need to cater to on all projects, because you're literally building on the site then. And that's how BIM works. BIM needs to be live. And that's how you can calculate and standardize the costs, customize or reduce the cost on a project, or gather that these are the clashes. That's why BIM was developed. So you work on a set site and the actual live site in the Revit model, and you use the location or the geolocation, and then you work on that. That's how those are the data that you need to, or information that you need to have before starting on a project, and those are the coordinates that you need to work on, and that's how you achieve low cost on a project or subsidized costs on a project. And that is what the role of BIM on projects is, to bring down the cost before any bad thing happens in a project, or before any clashes happen on a project.
Okay.
Yeah, got it. Good.
Okay. So I think it's great to have you all today. We will conclude the session for today's session. Okay. So thank you, Amir. Thank you, Rehan, for coming on the session today. And it's really great to have you all in the webinar today. It's like at a different time zones, but still you managed to be present on this session. So thank you very much. Thank you, everyone.
Thank you so much, Adnan. Thank you, everyone.
Thank you.
Thank you for giving us the opportunity.
Thank you, sir.